Looking back at the Celtics win over Milwaukee, were you happy that they held on or upset that they couldn't hold on to that lead? Plus, Payton Pritchard, is he playoff worthy? It's all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season, drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Deuce, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and Jay's how it started, raising business, how we finish. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day, and I've got you covered every day, Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts when they play on the weekends. So yeah, I'm podcasting tomorrow after the Pistons. Yes, I'm podcasting Saturday after the Bulls. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube, subscribe there, hop into the comment section. Let me know what you think about the game, what I'm saying, anything Celtics related. Go ahead and do that. If you're new to the show, I'm John Karalis. Used to play a long time ago. Now I'm covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. Check out my stuff over there. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Okay, we're going to get into some deeper conversations after the Celtics win over the Bucks. Payton Pritchard was awesome. Is he really going to be a playoff difference maker? Is he playoff worthy? Is he going to be a guy that makes that gets significant time no matter what the matchup in the playoffs? We'll discuss that in a little bit. But let's start with the conversation that's kind of been going back and forth from what I've seen in the comments on social media out there. The Celtics had a 21-point lead. They lost it, but they held on. So which glass half full, glass half empty? Let's have that discussion with our guy, Tom Westerholm, notorious glass half full guy. Tom?
Yeah. No, I've relentlessly positive is how people often describe me.
Aggressively positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say notorious glass half empty guy. I didn't know which way to go with the joke.
Yeah.
But
yeah. No, I mean, I think, after watching last night's game, it's like, I think it was just it was as ambiguous as a game can get, right? Like, because like if you're a Bucks fan, you can be like, well, Giannis was out. And Celtics fans can be like, well, yeah, but the guy who guards Damian Lillard the best on the Celtics was out. And it's like, and then Bucks fans can be like, well, yeah, but we beat you by 50 points earlier this season. The Celtics fans can be like, yeah, but we're beating you by 11 games in the standings. And, like it could just, this one could really just, you could keep going back and forth. You could be like, hey, Chris Middleton killed the Celtics like he always does. And Celtics fans could be like, yeah, but Kristaps Porzingis probably isn't going to go 0 for 5 from 3 every time these two teams play. And he's kind of a game breaker against the Bucks. Like realistically, it could just continue and continue. So like when you talk about losing a 20-point lead, I don't mean to be, I don't mean to be difficult, but it's just like, I kind of just nothing it. You know what I mean? It's like, because you're going to lose.
Pick a lane, Tom Westerholm.
No.
Okay. No, that's for Sports Talk Radio. This is nuanced conversation. So yeah, go ahead.
Well, yeah, because I think when you look at if the Celtics, like over the course of a season, odd things are going to happen. I think Tatum kind of hinted at this too. Like weird things. I think actually he was talking about not taking a shot in the third quarter, but like weird things happen over the course of a season. Leads. What we've seen from this team is like not that many blown leads. Now, I understand we've seen a couple recently, and I understand that's concerning. And if you want to be concerned about that, fine. I'm not sitting here saying like, hey, everything is fine. They pulled it out. I think it's encouraging that they did. I think that's good. I think you can be discouraged about losing the lead if you want, but realistically, I think you just chalk this one up to the season is long and weird and like, how much are you realistically going to learn about yourself and about, a team from one game during the regular season when guys are out? Like, it's just an ambiguous game. It's a weird one. And I think Joe Mazzulla kind of had it right. Like, which was funny because I was trying to write my takeaways and Joe Mazzulla was literally asked, what's your takeaway? And he's like, none, zero. You can't take anything. Oh, great. Well, I'll just pull 7 more out of my hat then.
I've got 8 takeaways here ready to go. So 8 ways to split nothing. Look, I said going into the game that it's going to be hard to pull anything meaningful out of this game, partly because of the guys who are missing, partly because this is not a time to be showing your hand, right? No. This is not a time to be we got to pull out all the tricks that we might have. That in a playoff scenario, let's just pretend this exact same thing happened in Game 3 in Milwaukee. And the Celtics are trying to take a 3-0 lead versus Milwaukee, desperately trying to hold on to a series, okay? The Celtics have probably plays, options, maneuvering, substitutions, plans, just generally plans to stop a run, right? And they're not going to dip into that on March 20th when you have an 11-game lead, or you're building towards an 11-game lead. The East is done. It's over. It is a wrap. It's an eventuality. Why give Doc Rivers something that he can look at and go, oh, that was interesting. I can't believe they did this to Damian Lillard to get him to give up the ball, and what they did behind the play, blah, 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 blah. You don't want to do that. So we have to keep that in mind. And I know that people love to look at these games and say, this is a direct, straight line correlation. What happened in this game is going to happen in the playoffs. We can't do that. And the problem is, like, a lot of the media that you look at out there treats each game like this is absolutely indicative of how things are going to go. And it's not very many people, like, it's just us on the podcast world going, actually, you know what? There's probably not much to take from them in this situation. Now, all of that being said, there are a million things to take from. I didn't like the zone stuff. I didn't like the slowing down stuff. And I did love Jaylen Brown after the game saying, just because it's the fourth quarter doesn't mean we have to slow down. Doesn't mean we can't play with pace. We can still play with pace. Just got to make sure you protect the ball. And that still involves, like, people moving and people cutting. The Celtics don't turn the ball over. And by the way, they turn the ball over when they're playing slow.
Yeah.
It's not like they can sit there and look at us in the eye. If I were to ask Joe Mazzulla, and if he says we're trying to prevent turnovers, I'd be like, you turned the ball over 3 times in the fourth quarter. What are you talking about? Kristaps Porzingis fired the ball out of bounds, which is better than a live ball turnover, but still, like, you're still turning the ball over. Like, so there's no real strong rationale. The best argument that I can make, and I made this on yesterday's podcast, I'm going to give you a chance to think about this and respond on the other side of it. They are getting away from the number one thing that makes them the best offense in the league and one of the best offenses in history. It's the movement. It's the forcing a defense to quickly make decisions and go, oh crap, there's that guy, whatever guy it is. And 2 guys say, oh crap, I got to go cover him. And that invariably leaves somebody uncovered. Versus if you just slow it down, you're taking away those options, and you take away that defensive, like, oh, I don't have to go cover that. He's covered, because they're not doing anything. They're just running one simple action, and we just got to hope that, Beasley can stay in front of Tatum enough where we can send some late help and we'll just grab the rebound. So they are getting away from their offensive strength. And if I'm going to be upset about anything, that's the thing I'm upset about. But there is stuff to be happy about. We'll talk about all that stuff when we come back. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports play. Very fun, very easy, because it's you and the projections. They set the projections. You pick more or less. They have 3 million people using Prize Picks, and you're not playing against a single one of them. It's just you and the numbers. And right now, it's demon time on Prize Picks. You can win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. So you can turn $10 into 1,000 bucks. So go find those red demons or green goblins in the squares on Prize Picks. You can get different payouts. So go check it out. You can win up to 100 times your money with as few as 4 correct picks. There's injury insurance. So your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets hurt. There are quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, a huge selection of players and stat types that makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app out there. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. It does get better. The deal does get better. If you could use the code LockedOnNBA, all lowercase, you get a first deposit match of up to $100. So go check it out. prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA. You get a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On Sports today. Turn off Fox Sports, turn off ESPN and all that yelling. Put actual, real sports talk that you can listen to and respond to in a calm manner, in a normal way, because all of these people are just arguing about things that are geared towards riling you up. Listen to real sports talk, Locked On Sports today, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. All right, let's get back into the conversation here with Tom Westerholm. What do you think about this concept of them getting away from the thing that makes them the best offense out there, and getting away from their strength and making it easier for the defense?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's some of that. I think they were thrown off a little bit by the zone too, right? And the zone, because like the thing about the zone is that it does, like, it should be very breakable, right? If you're the Celtics, like that should be something. Honestly, you want to talk about something that, like, I'm kind of surprised that somebody busted out in the regular season as opposed to waiting until the postseason. Why are you showing the Celtics a zone now? You know, like, why are you? You're good.
Yeah. No, right.
Why are you giving them that opportunity to have film on something and to be like, oh, well, if they do this, then we just zip, boom, swish. You know, like,
yeah,
those it should be very breakable. Like honestly, like most defensive strategies against the Celtics team, there's not a lot you can do consistently. Like, if you're going to beat this Celtics team, I think your defense has to kind of be this amorphous thing that can do a bunch of different things. You know, sequentially, like that can just kind of like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to mess with it, and then do this, and then we're going to mess with it, and then do this, and it's got to be this very complicated thing. I don't think you can do one thing because the Celtics will figure it out.
Can we do a lot of amorphous things sequentially on a T-shirt? I mean, that is just so catchy; it rolls right off the tongue.
Yeah, very catchphrases, definitely my thing. But I do think that, you know, like, defenses have to do a lot of different things to beat the Celtics, and you're just giving them film. Like, that's a weird decision. I think that's part of, but I think that's part of, right, what throws you off and what kind of takes you out of your rhythm. And when you get out of your rhythm, then you have to find it again. It's just kind of hard sometimes to just reel that damn thing back in. And
yeah.
And I think that's a lot of what happens too. Like, so again, I have a hard time being super worked up in either direction. I have a hard time being like, whoa, Jayson Tatum really figured it out down the stretch. It's like, he was 1 for 6 in the fourth quarter. Like, let's. I understand like the poise that Joe Mazzulla wants to talk about. Like, sure, it was fine, I guess. But I also don't want to be like, oh, the Celtics are like, yet again another massive collapse, because it wasn't really either of those things. It was just an odd regular season basketball game, and in the playoffs, those games are going to be odd too. And it's just going to be, you know, like, the Celtics have more than enough talent to beat the Bucks. Again, I don't think we can take that much from this game, whether it's in terms of offense or, you know, whatever it might be.
I get that, but also at the same time, with Tatum, I think the one thing to be happy about, he did finish with 8 points in the last 2 minutes, right?
Absolutely.
And, you know, people have said, I said this in yesterday's show, people said, well, 4 of those were take foul free throws, but he did put enough distance between them. He made it a 7-point game and forced them to start fouling. That's part of the calculus here. So that's part of why he scored the 8 points. But it's that
also you had him waving off the pass, saying pass it to Jaylen. You had that hard drive instead of settling for the jumper. Those are good.
That was the point I was going to make. Yeah. The attacking, what they didn't do is get caught up in we're going to try to answer what it is that you're doing. And if I'm just looking for like the little signs. I'm with you. In the moment, in the vacuum of this game, there's a whole lot of meh going on. But in the big picture, when you're, the 30,000 foot view, and you go, well, they didn't in the third quarter or down the stretch in the fourth quarter. They didn't lose their poise, right? They didn't panic. They actually continued to play basketball. Now, they slowed down too much. They didn't play the right kind of basketball. But they weren't just like, oh, they just hit a 3. Well, I'm going to come down and I'm going to try to answer with a quick 3. They didn't do any of that really. And Tatum at the end, we know what he likes to do. He likes to take those step back 3s, and he attacked. They didn't have the rim protection at the basket. And so he saw that and said, I am going to attack. Now, if Giannis is in the game, maybe that changes. Yeah. But situationally, maybe if Giannis is in the game, the Celtics have a configuration out there that forces Giannis to stay home rather than roam. Like the Bucks defense is about Giannis playing off of your worst shooter and meeting you at the rim to help. So maybe in a playoff series, instead of those drives and those 8 points, it's 2-3 assists to Drew Holiday in the corner, because that's who Giannis is going to end up covering. It's going to be Holiday, and it's going to be daring him. Who else is he going to cover?
I don't know if you can roam. I don't know if you're roaming off a 66% corner shooter.
Right, but who is he going to cover? Is he going to cover Jaylen? Maybe he covers Jaylen.
Jaylen,
right? It's a kick to Jaylen, right? Yeah. Maybe they do the Golden State thing, and he covers Jaylen. It's like, okay, I dare you, but we've seen that not work before.
Yeah, good luck.
So what are the options? Who is he going to? That's the point. That's the point. Yeah. Against the Celtics, like you were saying, against the Celtics, the Tatum driving is the thing to be happy about. Tatum driving is I'm not going to just settle. I see what the right thing to do on the floor is, and I'm going to go do it. Yeah. And they didn't meet me at the rim. So it's a finish. It's a foul. He had that fadeaway. I didn't care about the fadeaway shot. I think that's a shot that he has to hit that shot. That's got to be a bread and butter shot for him at some point.
Yeah, he needs to get a little better at it.
He needs to get a little bit better at it. But if he can get that fadeaway down,
that's tough.
That mid-range, that on the block fadeaway, that can be his Paul Pierce elbow shot. Yeah. I really do think that can get there.
I think you're right. Yeah.
But he has to get there, and hopefully he gets there soon, and it's not a next season thing. But that can be his signature. But anyway, the whole point is, and the fact that he drove, if that's going to suck in the help in a playoff series, and Giannis has to help off of a bad option, because no matter who he leaves, it's going to be a bad decision, then that's going to be where the Celtics drive, kick, swing, and that's where they bury you with good open shots.
One thing that Giannis being out yesterday, I mean, obviously there's a million things that it's like, man, we could have learned this. We could have learned this. The one thing that I'm like, I really wish we could have gotten a look at is Xavier Tillman just kind of doing the Grant Williams thing. Yeah. Like, I really wanted to see what that would look like. Like, on this Celtics team, I understand, there's he's played Giannis before, but like, I'm curious to see what it looks like. Yeah. What if, can he just kind of stand in the middle and make it hard the way that Grant did? Because I'm interested. Also, but then on the other end, right, is he then the guy that Giannis is roaming off of? And how does that affect the Celtics offense? Like, I think it gets really interesting. I would have liked to have seen that chess match, which, maybe we'll see in the playoffs. Or to Joe Mazzulla's point, I have no idea. It meant nothing. It might happen. It might not. We might, an asteroid might hit the Earth before the playoffs even start. Nothing is guaranteed. Who even knows? I love when he just goes like full cheaty in The Good Place, mixing like the chili, and he's just like
the
nothing
peeps
matters.
in the chili pot. Yeah, that's just see Joe coming up with a big pot of chili and like
Shirtless.
boxes of peeps, and he's like, "Let me tell you something, my babies. Nothing matters. You all get A's and F's.
You're all champions or losers. It doesn't matter."
Oh, there's 3 people watching this that get that. But thank you for being those 3 people.
You're our favorite.
Every time you make a reference like that, I'm like, oh man, I got rewatch that show again. All right, let's save the best for last. Payton Pritchard, who was the big story of the game. Is he playoff bound? I guess that's not the right way to put it. Can he play in the playoffs? Can we get playoff P? Playoff Pritchard? Can he do what he did against the Bucks in an Eastern Conference Finals? Talk about that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA, covering the whole league, rotating hosts all week, including me on Wednesdays. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. All right, let's get into the playoff Pritchard discussion. Pritchard was great, especially in that second quarter. They ran everything through Pritchard for a stretch. He 6 straight baskets where he either scored or assisted. I think getting Damian Lillard makes it possible to play Pritchard a little bit more in the playoffs, but at the same time, if the Celtics are getting into a switching type of defense, like they're going to have to get creative defensively. I think this year, more than most or more than any of the previous years, Pritchard is going to be a playoff contributor. I'm still not sure to what degree. And I know I feel like I'm constantly a Pritchard skeptic. I'm trying not to be disrespectful to Pritchard because I think the way he plays is amazing. And if he was 6'4", man, that would be amazing. It would be your sixth man. But the fact is he's 6 feet tall. And he will get targeted in certain situations. So I don't know. What do you think? What level do you think Pritchard can duplicate this regular season, which has been great, better than I expected? And I'll admit, I didn't think it was going to be this good. So he's certainly proving me wrong to a degree. Now he's going to probably do it again because I'm expressing a similar amount of doubt. I can't help it. It is what it is. But what do you think he can do in the playoffs?
So my skepticism with Pritchard has absolutely nothing to do with his game or even his height. Really, I don't think this is like how many rebounds has he just like gone and somehow gotten? Like he's
pound for pound the best offensive rebounder. That's the compliment you give to smaller guys. Pound for pound the best offensive rebounder in the league.
Well, and I mean, pound for pound, he's out there like battling, Bobby Portis for things. He's out there like just doing, I don't know, crazy stuff. Like he's a really good player. And I think my skepticism has absolutely nothing to do with any like limitations. It's just like, well, your rotation gets so short in the playoffs. Like your rotation gets short, and that's just life. You play the Bucks, you got your 6, right? maybe you have Xavier Tillman to help on Giannis, and Hauser probably, right? Especially if they're going to do zone stuff, because then you got like another shooter out there, another bigger guy. And I mean, Hauser's another guy who's going to get targeted, but that's neither here nor there. And that's 8 already, right? Yeah. Literally, and like a 9-man playoff rotation. That's kind of a lot, dude. Like, and again, maybe it's not all Hauser. Maybe you're alternating some Pritchard and some Hauser in there. Maybe it's not Tillman. But one way or the other, the Celtics automatically have 6, right, in their playoff rotation. There's no doubt about any of those 6. If they're at all healthy, all 6 of those guys are going to be playing. I think Pritchard is very capable. I think we're seeing some. If that salary crunch gets crunchy down the line, I think we're seeing one guy who might make things a little bit easier. In whatever direction the Celtics end up going with that. I think Pritchard's a real player, but it's just a numbers game in the playoffs. It's just a rotation thing. I don't know. I don't know how much time he's going to get, but I don't think that has anything to do with him. I think he's I think he's good.
Let's break this down real quick, right? There's 5 positions at 48 minutes per position. So that's 240 minutes.
Yep.
So Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown are going to play 40 minutes a game.
Yep.
Right? So let's take 80 out of there.
So you got 160 left.
Down 160. You've got Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis. Those guys, where are we at with White and Holiday, let's say?
White's probably getting 40, right? Like, he's very durable. He's
right.
So, I mean, take 40 off there.
So take 40 off of that. So we're at 120. We're going to take what? 30, 35 for Holiday? 35?
I would think.
Okay. So we're down to 85.
Yep.
So Al is going to take 30, right?
Probably.
30 minutes a game for Al.
Yeah, probably, right? It's got to be, yeah.
That's a conservative number, I think. 30 is a nice number for him. That leaves 55. So Porzingis, even if he plays 35 per game, that leaves 20 minutes left. Who's going to get those 20 minutes, right? Hauser can get some, maybe. Pritchard has a stake in some, but like you said, Tillman has a stake in some. There's not a lot of time when you look at 40 minutes apiece for Tatum, Brown, and White. I don't think that's outrageous at all. 30 minutes for Al Horford, 35 for Holiday, and what do we say? 35 for Porzingis. Those are all really, I think, solid playoff numbers. So you're right. Pritchard might he'll probably get in like a random game, get hot, and play great. I think the question is going to be, when you put him in the game, does he have or does he not? And there have been games this season. Just look at this regular season. There have been games this season where it's like, ooh, not a great Pritchard game. Those have been very few, but he's had the games where it's like, ugh, not great. So if he's having one of those, then sit down, buddy. And the best part about that is, it's not going to bother him. It's not going to affect his confidence. It's not going to affect anything.
He's got a contract.
He's got a contract. It's like,
yep,
he's good. Joe Mazzulla loves Payton Pritchard, loves him. So it's not going to be like he's going to fall out of favor or anything like that. It's just, if it works, it works. And the last point I'll make on this is, I think the guys probably can trust Mazzulla in the one thing that he's been constant about. It's like, whatever that day needs. Winning looks different every day. He says it all the time. Whatever that day needs is what we're going to give it. So if it's 30 minutes of Payton Pritchard, then that's what the day needs. If it's 0 minutes of Payton Pritchard, then that's what that day needs. And we'll worry about tomorrow. So, yeah, I think Pritchard will get some opportunity. It is going to be a reduced opportunity, to your point. And I think the matchup is going to depend a lot on how much opportunity he gets.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think, to your point about Mazzulla, it's like, I really, the way that the guys talk about him too is so, I mean, last year I felt like we got a lot of like, yeah, I mean, he's doing the best in a tough situation. I think we got a lot of that last year. It's changed so much. I think you're right that, like, I don't think there's going to be any like, kind of groaning or anything like that from guys who might not have as much of an opportunity. I think that's why you see talented players like O'Shea Brissett not have like just still up off the bench constantly, like happy to, I think that he has really gotten through to this team in ways that are that matter quite a lot. I think you're right. I think Pritchard is going to be. I think he's going to be cool. And man, what a great setup for him to be like that guy. That it's like, yeah, man, if you got it, go get it, and if you don't, no worries. Like that puts him in a wonderful place because he can go in without any pressure. That honestly probably makes it more likely that he's going to have more good games because what pressure does he have? He has nothing, if go help us win a game or come sit down. If you don't have it, you don't have it, and that's fine.
I will say, I think anybody that might be groaning about who's playing is gone. So
yeah, the Celtics took a page out of Kyrie's book and burned sage in a metaphorical way with their roster building this year.
It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. So, but we'll see. It's like one of those things. We'll see in a month because the Celtics still have 3 weeks of basketball to play and a week of the play-in tournament to figure out. So,
as always, nobody's going to feel bad for us for this. But it's like once the Celtics clinch, like the number one overall seed, it's like, dude, what are we talking about? Like, what are we
Tom,
writing about? What
we're going to talk about the most interesting topics possible because that's what we do on the number one Boston Celtics podcast on the planet.
Yeah. Like this Pistons.
We just don't know what it's going to be yet.
This Pistons Bulls weekend that's coming.
The beauty about doing the bonus podcast on a Friday or a Saturday is that I don't have the commercial obligations that I have during the week.
Yeah.
So if post Pistons requires 10 minutes of talking, then that's what post Pistons is going to get. Tom, winning looks different every day. Podcasting looks different every day.
Well,
so I'm going to give the podcast what it needs. If it's 10 minutes, it's 10 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, it's going to be 30 minutes.
I love how Missoula pilled we've become. It's just like, I buy it. I buy everything. I'm in.
I can't help it.
He's a wild man. I enjoy it.
He is. He's crazy, but I completely love the way he thinks. He and I are on the same wavelength.
I don't know if I'm on the same wavelength as him, but I enjoy it. I think it's great. I'm right. I every time he says something and people are like, what does he mean by that? I'm like, I know exactly what he means by that. Because I think it's the same stupid things sometimes about being happy about the way the game went. Like that's kind of like, this is actually kind of great. Well, let's see what we got here. You blow a 20.1 lead. Let's see what we got, boys. And there's always something to take. All right, Tom. Thanks as always. Appreciate you, man.
Always appreciate Tom Westerholm, and I always appreciate you, dear listener, dear watcher. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for being a part of the show. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Comment and share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks to Blockbuster Brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix. And 3 from KP, no, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown. Clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen of back bay, it's all C's nation. Bill Russell the Bird, Hondo the Rondo. KG in the truth, all the legends in the roof. 2 Tommy points for Reggie and DJ. IT the killer with the big heart was the hardest. Raina J's how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.